Welcome back to the Hive Doctor, your beekeeping mentor. It's my job to take the guesswork out of beekeeping for you. Talking about more beekeeping equipment today, specifically the entrance reducer. Okay, so now we're going to cover one of my favorite pieces of equipment. It's a brand new thing I'm using, and it's called an entrance reducer. But it's not just any old kind of entrance reducer. The traditional ones are actually just a wooden strip that the beekeeper will lay across the front here with an entrance very much like this rectangular entrance on the end. And in summertime, this wooden strip has an opening about that long. And in wintertime, you turn it and it actually has an opening about this long, so that it keeps the warmth inside. But every year I struggle around after the last honey flow that we have. We go into a time what's called a honey dearth or a nectar dearth, and that means there's just not much blooming, and so the bees will actually get robby. In other words, since there's not many flowers out there, these bees will go to that hive and try to get their honey, and that's called getting robby. They'll literally rob from one another. You might also see yellow jackets, bumblebees, European hornets, regular white bald-faced hornets try to get in here because they smell the sweet stuff that's inside and they want it. Well, it was too much work to try to get around and get those on and off at the right time of year, finding them all. So I found recently someone I'm not affiliated with, but I will leave a link so that you can follow it below. He calls it a entrance protector, and it's from fortresshive.com. I got in touch with this guy and he said he could make a custom one just for me because, as you recall, I have extra deep bottom boards, so I needed a much higher, wider entrance protector than most. And he designed this thing custom for me. You can see the honeycomb cut holes in the front that the bees can easily come and go through. Drones, which are the boy bees, they're larger than the workers, they can come and go easily through that as well, and the queen when she needs to. He cut my business name into here for me, Bee Native, and he's also got 2 honeycomb cutouts here so I could screw it to the box, to the hive body, so that it can be permanent. There's still plenty of holes in the front for there to be adequate ventilation during the summertime, and it's also enough to cut the airflow down enough in the wintertime. I don't have to worry about if my bees are going to get cold. And if I was in a colder climate, I would still use this, but maybe I'd come along and put a wooden strip that covered most of this, but it would just sit there. It'd be so easy. But I love this thing. Entrance reducers are something that you need to use during the dearth period in your area, which you need to find out when that is. Mine, here in the northeast Georgia mountains, is after our last honey flow in the summertime. So our dearth is pretty much the month of August, and until things begin to bloom again, which in this case is goldenrod and aster, the bees will be robby on one another. And you don't want that. The weaker of your hives will always lose. They'll lose their food stores, your stronger hives will steal them, and neighboring beekeepers' hives may come and rob from yours. So this is something that you need to employ, whether it's this fancy schmancy one like mine, or just a regular wooden one if you're going to go with 3/4 inch bottom boards that most beekeepers use. But there's also times of the year where you don't even need an entrance reducer. And those times of the year are going to be when you have a honey or nectar flow. You'll hear beekeepers say both of those terms, they're both right. And what that is, a honey flow, is when there's so much blooming that the bees make more than they need. This is the only bee type animal that makes more honey than they need. Bumblebees make honey, but they only collect enough for surviving. but honeybees will collect surplus, and that's why we as beekeepers are able to come along and make a harvest and have honey in the stores, have honey on the table. So find out when the dearth period in your area is. You may need to Google it, or if you know a beekeeper, ask them. Hopefully they know. Not every beekeeper knows what they should, but that's okay. We're all learning. So decide on what kind of bottom board you're going to use. You can still go with this fancy entrance protector through fortresshive.com, or you can go with a regular wooden entrance reducer. And you could keep them on year round, or you can keep them on only during the dearth period.